The short story that I had was With One Wheel Gone Wrong, and um, as I was initially reading it, when I first read it, I realized that we never get the woman's name and we don't really get a glimpse of her personality whatsoever. You kind of just, she looks at the house ad and you kind of, get a glimpse of what she likes and what she kind of wants, like a fantasy home. But besides that, I knew there was room for imagination. So when I would make the film adaptation, I knew I can kind of incorporate my own ways of showing her personality. So with this being said, as I was reading it, she seemed like a very ordinary woman. And I also realized that she seems kind of lonely. Maybe she lives with one other person, or just maybe she has a pet. She lives alone at home. And I knew for a fact I kind of wanted to do everything in black and white. So, first off, my film, I wanted to be black and white, every single scene. And I knew I wanted to do a lot of pan shots because I felt like that would make it very raw if I had pan shots just of different things that go along with the film. So I have the movie. Well, I made a film for it, my attempt to. So I'm just going to go from the film that I made, and looking at it right now, the first scene that we have is just a pan shot moving downward, and in the center, once it's all the way down, in the center are two little plants in front of a dirty window. And with that scene, I decided to do that because I really felt like it's such an ordinary thing. Many people have that in their house, just plants. I felt like it really showed how raw it is. The effect I wanted to give was by showing these different things within her house. It kind of just shows you how, I don't know, how raw it is. I wanted a very raw film, a film that just wasn't really a film, but more kind of like her life. And I wanted it to be also very slow paced. And I want to compare that to Vertical Raise the Sun. I liked that film a lot, and I thought, I could do something like that. So everything is very slow paced, but there are a lot of jump cuts, and each jump cut is to a different thing within her house. And this will be the first few scenes. So after that, we jump cut to a second scene where it shows. It's another pan shot, and it shows paintings on her wall, along with a candle and just a picture frame of her with her family. Now, again, it does the same effect, just showing the different things within her house to show how ordinary she is. Kind of lets you get to know her just by seeing these different things. And so that would be the second scene. And then, as it's going down, you get to the center of her and her family, the picture frame, right? So you kind of get to see who she is just a little bit by seeing these different objects within her house. And then we jump cut to another scene, and in this scene, it's another pan shot, slowly lowering until you get to the center. And this one is of her porch, her backyard porch. And it shows hanging lights. It's got a few trees in the background, and you just see an ordinary table with ordinary chairs. Again, just showing what her life is, and what her surroundings, like her setting. So there's that, and then it jump cuts to a kind of more of an outside setting. It jump cuts, and then it's a pan shot, and again it's lowering down. All of my shots are usually the same within this film, and this one is more of an outside shot, like I said. It's not within her house, and I wanted to kind of show what town she lives in by doing this, not just her home, but kind of what's outside of her home, but what's near. So in this shot, it's kind of at like a park. It's got trees, and then a light pole, and then telephone wires, just something ordinary. And then it also jump cuts from there to a little side table, and it's got picture frames of her family again. So again, you get, a glimpse of, her family. And once it's a pan shot and it lowers down. So once you get to the center and like what we really want to show, it's a set of keys along with her grocery list. Now, the meaning of this one is, in the grocery list, it says cat litter, cat food, a cat toy, and milk. Now, by doing this, I wanted to kind of give off the impression that she's a cat lady. Because when I was first reading this, I really did think that maybe she was a cat lady, and then I just kind of went with it. Because, like I said, there's room for imagination. There's, we don't really know much about her, so we can kind of create a picture of her. So, within this scene, when it comes to the end, the pan shot gets to that grocery list and the keys, it then zooms in on it, to kind of really, really, really focus on what is on that grocery list. And okay, so in the story, it says her basket is overflowing with catnip and kitty litter, pull-ups, and pomegranates, plenty of all. Now, that's kind of where I got the idea that maybe she's a cat lady, so that's the reason for that. So after that, and after we zoom in on that, we kind of get a glimpse that, maybe she is a cat lady, lives alone. And then we jump cut right after that. We jump cut to a kind of camera shot where it's like, it's her point of view, and it's, the camera's basically her eyes. So what it is it's a short clip, another pan shot where, it's her point of view. She's in the car, and she's now driving to the grocery store. So within this shot, she's driving, and there's one car in front of her, just, very normal. And on the two sides, the land, then there's the road. So on both sides, there's not many trees. It's very barren. There are telephone poles, light poles, and all that. So it really does show the setting of, where she is and where she lives. And then after that, we jump cut to her walking through the aisle of the grocery store. And in the aisle, I believe she is in the cat aisle, and this is where, it kind of shows that this is where she's looking for that, catnip, what was on her grocery list, just like any other ordinary person would do when they're shopping, going, to the aisles they need to go to, going into order with their grocery list. So there's that. So that scene goes on for a little bit, another pan shot, and then next it jump cuts, and this is not a pan view. It's actually a close up of the house ad that she sees. It says, she takes a magazine out of the rack. There's a spot to scratch, and offers she can't resist. And there's some dialogue there. And then it says, the background photo is of a beautiful house with everything just as you would want it to be, untouched by reality. So we see that, she sees this house ad, and she thinks it's really beautiful, right? Obviously. And then she goes, and then we skip a little bit, and then it says, a sudden burst of light, an explosion of inspiration, a fleeting illumination, as she is inside the picture, and it is clear. This is her house, this is who she is, the life she is supposed to live. So, you can kind of think, like, maybe she wants to live that life in that house. So, in this scene that I have here, we're at a close-up, and it then zooms out into a pan shot of the house ad, right? Of the house ad that she's looking at. And with this, it's just got a lot of information on it. It's the house ad that she's looking at. And then that goes on for a little bit as it zooms out. And then we do then jump cut. Let me see here. Yes, we jump cut to her standing in front of that big house, right? Again, this this film has very little dialogue. I thought it was more effective because I wanted it to really be like everything is in her point of view. And she wouldn't be talking to herself. So I chose very little dialogue, slow pace, just for effect of it being everything kind of in her point of view, like you're in her shoes. So this next shot, after the house ad, we jump cut to her standing in front of the house. Her back is towards the camera, and she is just staring up at the big house. And then we kind of walk towards her. The camera kind of walks towards her as she's looking at this grand house. And this is supposed to be this is supposed to be her imagining herself in front of this nice house that she sees the ad of. So we then do that, and it's also a pan shot. We started from the top and then to the center of her in front of the camera, looking at the big house, standing in front of it. And then next we kind of, we jump cut to her driving home. So with this jump cut, it's as if she's looking out the window, right? Again, it's her point of view. The camera, it's showing, I don't know how to explain it. The camera is there and it's showing everything that she's passing by. There are houses, there are trees. So that's a quick pan shot of that, like it's in her point of view, just her looking out the window. So that goes by. And then we do jump cut to we're still in the car, but we jump cut to a more darker setting, and the sun is now setting. The sun is setting as she's driving home again. And then this is when the film really changes. And I say this because we then, after she drives home, we jump cut to where she is walking up the steps of her garage into her front door, or her garage door, with grocery bags in her hands. And she says, this is the only dialogue within the entire film. She says, "Honey, I'm home." Now, I did this because, she doesn't live in this grand house, even though she kind of maybe wishes to do that, she doesn't. And, she comes home to somebody, and that's that. She had a quick little imagination, fantasy for fun, and then now she's back home with her groceries, just like any ordinary person would come back home, So that's the end of it, and she says, "Honey, I'm home." And then, that's also a pan shot. Her back is always her back is towards the camera, and then we're walking up to the door after she closes it behind us. Now, in conclusion of everything is in black and white. There's no dialogue other than the last part, "Honey, I'm home." And the reason I did that was because I wanted to have the effect that we're in her shoes, and she's probably, she could be thinking to herself, she's alone at the moment until she comes home and says, "Honey, I'm home." And that's when, snap back to reality after that. So that's why I did that, and that's my film adaptation of the short story, the best I could do. The entire background of this, since there is no dialogue, I thought it would be maybe exciting to put an instrumental piece behind, non-diegetic. The character does not hear the music whatsoever, only the viewer is aware of it. It's an instrumental piece, and the climax of the song begins once we walk up to her as she is standing in front of the house that she wishes to be at. And then the music does cut out when she says, "Honey, I'm home," because like that, the imaginary, her imagination is over, the fantasy is over. And then after she closes the door behind us, that is when the music begins, but that's the end of the movie. So that is my film adaptation. I'm also going to have a link to the film I created that, actually, like I described, right now I described the film that I created, so I'll put that in the link below, and you'll see, in visual what I was trying to explain. So yeah.